Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, November 4th. So today we have the moon in Pisces, but we will see that moon go void, of course, at 6:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be shifting into Aries energy at 7:08 p.m. Anytime that we are moving out of this Piscean energy and into Aries energy, we get that spark back, we get that pep in our step. We move out of the emotionally intuitive waters of Pisces, where we just kind of want to live in a fantasy land, to that fire energy of Aries, where we're ready to boss up and take the next step. We do have 10 different aspects taking place here today, and 9 of them involve the moon. The moon is going to conjunct, sit next to, bump into its ruler, Neptune, who is retrograde in Pisces as well. This particular energy can be very magical, very intuitive, very imaginative, very fantasy-like, or it can be super overwhelming to the point where we just want to crawl into bed and bury our head in the sand and just not deal with reality at all. Of course, I'm hoping that we're all going to be able to tap into the positives of this energy, because we really do need to kind of chill out and step back from our physical realms or physical realities and really kind of conjure up a brand new dream, a brand new vision on what it is that we want to be experiencing and what it is that we want to pour our intentions into as far as manifesting. The moon is going to bump into Mercury in a little tiny bit of an awkward situation that is going to kind of trigger our mental plane. Of course, we have Mercury in Scorpio energy doing a deep dive, doing the detective work, if you will, especially in the shadow realm of our thoughts and feelings, in order to kind of get to the truth, to expose the hidden realm of our unconscious self and really get down to the nitty-gritty of our motives, of our intentions. We do kind of see this kind of illuminate for us maybe some not so nice thoughts and feelings that, of course, the moon in Pisces is going to just dive all the way into and can get very overwhelmed with. We do kind of see a little bit of an obsessive loop trying to take over in our mental plane, because we're very fixated on trying to solve our issues, solve our problems, and make sense of a lot of things that have taken place in our lives that, of course, are out of our control. The moon, shortly after, squares Mars. And within this time frame of the moon interacting with Mercury and then the moon entering into the boxing ring with Mars, it can definitely trigger some restlessness, some anxiety, some frustration, some agitation, maybe even kind of turn the volume up all the way on what it is that we have impulses and urgencies to take action on. The problem here is that we are tapping into the not so nice side of Mars being retrograde in Gemini, which is definitely going to affect our communications and our thought process. Now, this can definitely turn us on to the more aggressive thoughts in our mind space, definitely put a little bit of a forceful tone behind our communication. But mostly there's this underlying element of us really feeling the urgency to hurry up, to make a decision, to solve the world's problems, to figure everything out. And the problem is that we're in eclipse season, which means that we can't really force our way through it. We do have to let things kind of unfold a little bit more organically than what we have time and patience for. So we really do have to kind of keep ourselves in check, especially where it is that we need to pace ourselves and taking action in the outside world. A lot of this agitation and frustration needs a physical channel, an outlet to actually get out of our bodies. If we don't, we are going to feel that energy kind of bubble and hit a boiling point. Of course, with Mars being retrograde in Gemini, we're expecting to kind of unearth some anger, to unearth some frustration and agitation. But this is going to kind of come at us a little bit quick and definitely be seen in our mental narrative and the way that we're communicating our thoughts and our ideas with the people in our realms. This is kind of adding, again, this urgency that we feel, but we shouldn't pour into. We're definitely looking to kind of fast forward through this particular uncomfortable process, which you know what? It's a natural thing to want to kind of fast forward through the uncomfortability and the adjustment period. However, we need to grow through what it is that we're going through. And to rush that process is really going to put us at a disadvantage for missing some details, for truly gaining the bigger, broader perspective, and truly aligning with what it is that we're being called to pursue. The moon is going to sextile, which is a beautiful energy, with Pluto, the great transformer. This definitely is kind of suggesting that the earlier funk that we were experiencing with that Mercury aspect, setting us up for a little bit of a obsessed, darker narrative, a little bit of a detective mind, if you will. And then, of course, jumping right into the boxing ring with Mars and having a lot of triggers and activations kind of rub us the wrong way. This is going to illuminate the fact that we come to some aha moments. We've come to some beautiful epiphanies that is really going to change our emotions. Why? Because when we shift the way that we think, our perspective and our understanding, we have the ability to shift the way that we feel about it. Because Pluto is the great transformer, and because the moon is involved, our heart space, our emotions, our intuition, we are definitely seeing and feeling the inner transformation, lighten the vibe, kind of align with our intuition, focusing in on the silver linings, on the good vibes, and kind of digging ourselves out of that dark hole, that dark pit. The moon is going to interact with the sun in not the nicest way. And we always have to consider the fact that the moon represents our emotions, our intuition, and our past, what has built us, where our experiences have created the here and now. And the sun, of course, is shining a bright light on what it is that we want to achieve, what it is that we want to accomplish, what it is that we have to embody as far as qualities and characteristics go. So we have the moon in Pisces, water on water. We have the sun in Scorpio, fire and water. What we get here is a huge illumination of the here and now, the choices that we have to make to either stick with the old, stick with the past, continue repeating the same old patterns and behaviors and only ever get what it is that we've always got, or see where certain parts of us need to die, where things need to end, where cycles need to close in order for this transformation that the sun in Scorpio is illuminating for us, where we can rise up out of the ash just like the phoenix, and where it is that we can definitely step out of the pain and step into a placement of power. The moon is going to semi-square the true node. The true node is our soul's path, our destiny point, and the semi-square is a little bit of a tension because there is this urgency, this underlying, I'm going to say, push for us to figure out everything now. We don't know what the next step is. We will have a little bit more clarity after the eclipse portal closes, but to rack our brains and to get down on ourselves and apply this pressure to us in order to figure out everything yesterday is not helping anyone. What it's doing is it's creating a little bit of a cluster F in our emotions and in our head space. And of course, it's making us very, very agitated, which we want to avoid now that Mars is retrograde in Gemini energy. We get a huge amount of help here when the moon goes ahead, sits next to, conjuncts, meets up with Jupiter, who is just retrograded back in this Piscean energy. This is a huge, huge magnifying glass, a huge opportunity to turn the volume all the way up on where it is that we need to be more positive, where it is we need to be more optimistic, where it is we need to have more confidence in the process that we're currently going through. We are going through a very tough love life lesson of growth here, where it is that we're being kind of forced to open up our heart space, open up our head space, and expand our beliefs to a point where we aren't kind of blocked, challenged, and restricted by what it is that we think is actually possible. This is going to definitely bring in a lot of emotion, a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, a lot of positive vibes that we really have to ride the wave with because, as you know, they don't happen very often. And we need to kind of throw ourselves into a dream, into a fantasy land, into la la land in order to identify what it is that we want more of. What do you want out of life? What experiences do you want? Where do you need to create more stability, more connection in life? These are all going to be topics and themes that come up when Jupiter kind of reveals the magnifying glass on what it is that we want to explore from here, what we want to grow into from here, and what it is that we would consider to be a huge blessing in our lives. 8:45 p.m. is the very first aspect that the moon in Aries is going to make, and it is with Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure, who is currently in Scorpio energy, really doing the deep dive in her shadow work to really examine her own self-worth, her own value, her own self-esteem, her own self-confidence, and really get down to the nitty-gritty on where that actually began. Where did that come from? Who taught me this? We do have to do the detective work and really dissect our shadow realm in order to figure out what it is that we need to do to heal the voids within ourselves. Why? Because Venus in Scorpio wants nothing more than a soul merging connection, wants nothing more than to be very, very intimate and committed to the people in her lives. But here's the thing, we are being triggered and activated by our relationships right now. And instead of putting the blame and casting that particular instance on other people outside of us, we need to be looking inside of us to see what is broken, what is wounded, how did we attract these people, these situations, these scenarios to us by the wounds in which we're carrying. Now, Mercury is going to go ahead and bump into Mars. And this is an interesting type of interaction because, of course, Mercury rules over Gemini, that Mars is currently retrograde in, and Mars rules over Scorpio energy, that Mercury is currently in. What we get here is another layer that we kind of explored earlier in the day, where we're trying to rush our thought process, come to some sort of decision. We have pressurized speech, a little bit of aggression kind of festering up in our communication style. And for many of us, we are going to kind of be fixated on the not so nice things in our thoughts, in our feelings, but also looking around at our lives and other people. We tend to focus in on the things that make us different, the things that we're not happy with, the things that disgust us, the things that, create a little bit of a disconnect in our personal relationships. And if we're not careful, we are going to pop off and actually express ourselves in a way that we shouldn't, because our thought process isn't nice. Our inner narrative isn't the nicest either. We have Mars really adding a layer of anger and frustration. We are held back. We're not able to do what it is that we want to do right now. And overall, we are just having all of this mental tension put us into a funk that could typically create a conversation that is going to create a lot of problems, a lot of hurt feelings, and we're going to have to clean that up later. Lastly, we have the moon semi-squaring Uranus. Now, Uranus is the great awakener. He likes to shake things up and show us where it is that we have to be open-minded to change, to where it is that we have to shift our perspective, shift our understanding. And with the moon in Aries, we are bold, we are brave, we have some pep in our step, we're semi-aggressive at this particular point, and we're not sure what we want. Now, here's the thing. Uranus energy, when in a positive aspect, gives us beautiful insight, gives us ideas. We have aha moments that totally change our perception, our perspective, and our understanding. But the moon, being in Aries energy, is a little bit self-absorbed right now. We're only concerned about what we want, what we need, what we desire. And that's a huge conflict for Uranus energy being retrograde in Taurus energy that is really focused on relationships. So we might experience a little bit of a cluster F in our heart space and in our head space with this particular energy, because we don't know what it is that we want. We don't know what we desire. We don't know what we need. We don't know what is going to make us feel safe and secure. We're really just trying to figure it out. But what I will say is that typically speaking, we need confusion before we gain clarity. We need to have a little bit of a breakdown in our emotions and in our mental plane before we have a breakthrough. And this Uranian energy is definitely triggering us in order to do just that.